Please welcome Josh Gondelman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was the exact right amount. I love your enthusiasm because this is what I'm like. I got to make this set look like anything I wanted. We had a great team working on it, and I couldn't decide between Gumdrop Sunrise and Bisexual Planetarium. That's what I bring to this. I'm very friendly. It rarely helps. Even when I drink, I don't do anything adventurous or exciting, so I don't have any wild, regrettable tattoos or exciting stories. All I have are text messages I've sent to my friends telling them exactly what I appreciate about them on an individual basis. It's getting to be too much. It's a little bit of a problem. I was out with some friends recently. I think I overdid it, because the next morning one of them texted me. He was like, dude, you were hammered last night. And I was like, how could you tell? And he goes, you wouldn't stop using the word cherish. That is on me. That's my fault. That's too intimate a word for a guy's night out. I understand that now. Cherish is for wedding vows and looking at black and white pictures of Nana. That's not the kind of energy you can bring to poker night. I understand that. You gotta hold the people in your life close, though. You do. It's a hard, scary world out there. And when the news is sad and scary, I do what I imagine a lot of you do, is I look to see what the brands are saying on Instagram. I need to know what Applebee's thinks about every international incident so I can calibrate my moral compass accordingly. People get so mad when brands don't speak out. They leave angry comments. Best Buy, the volume of your silence is as deafening as the volume of your top-of-the-line speakers, sold at bargain prices. What are we doing? Why do we think brands agree with us? They're not people, they're corporate interests. And you only tell people to speak up when you think that they agree with you. Otherwise, why do you want to hear from them? People do it all the time. They're like, Burger King, history is watching. And there's a 50-50 chance that if Burger King puts out a statement, you'll be like, wow, I didn't realize that hamburger monarch felt that way about abortion. Yikes, that is... Apparently having it your way doesn't include the right to choose, and I'm sorry I asked, frankly. What are we looking for? What's the best case scenario when you demand a brand speaks up? When you're like, Olive Garden, your silence is violence. What's the best thing they could do? What are we realistically hoping for? In my opinion, the best thing we can hope for is just an Instagram grid post with a black and white picture of a Caesar salad. Text overlaid that's like, at the Olive Garden, when you're here, your family. And at America's southern border, families are being separated at an alarming rate. That's why this month only, all unaccompanied minors get free unlimited breadsticks. Does that help? Is that anything we don't know? We're the Olive Garden, where Jews go to feel Italian for 90 minutes. Anti-Semitism's been in the news. That's not when you're supposed to laugh at that. If one person had laughed at that, I would get the discomfort, but the whole audience like, I'm like, what do you know? It's tough, though. Anti-Semitism's been in the news, but it's hard to have a substantive conversation because people can't settle on a definition. That's tricky. Some people say that any criticism of Israel, the country, that's anti-Semitism. I don't know. That's not my definition. As a Jew, which I don't have to specify. This isn't that big a room that there's someone way in the back like, oh, a Jew, got it. Okay, I was wondering. But walk with me. As a Jew, I don't get offended when I hear people criticize the country of Israel. I do get hurt in my heart when I hear people say cruel things about Adam Sandler. He's just done so much for our people in my lifetime, first of all. If you were to come up to me at a party and be like, Josh, I don't think the Netanyahu administration has a commitment to a lasting peace process, I'd be like, yeah, let's talk. I think we have some things in common. But if you came up to me at that party and were like, Josh, I don't think Sandler's made a good movie since 1996, I would get furious immediately. Just like, first of all, we don't go to his movies because they're good. We go because it's tradition. Tradition! Tradition! 0 to Tevye in 1 second. That's what you do to me. Come right out. You gotta tell the people in your life you care about them. Straight guys, we gotta say I love you to our platonic friends. We do. Say I love you to your platonic friends, other straight guys, and not just the ones you're trying to cheat on your wife with. The other dudes, too. I didn't make that up. My friend Mike started it in my life. We were talking on the phone. He was like, I love you. And I said, I love you, too. But part of me, and I don't like this about myself, thought it was a prank. That's nothing Mike did. I just grew up in the Boston area, in those suburbs. It's a very aggressive place. Like, I have a lot of hometown pride in a lot of ways, but it's hard to show because it gets so aggressive to show you have hometown pride when you're from around Boston. Like, I have a Red Sox hat. I wear that in New York City where I live now. That's fine. But one notch above that just gets too macho, too aggro. It goes Red Sox hat, second level, New England Patriots football jersey, and the name on the back just says Blue Lives Matter for some reason. And you're like, do they even sell that at the NFL store? And you're like, they actually only sell that one at the NFL store. And then level 3 is a button-down shirt with a camo pattern made of shamrocks, and it's called Shamouflage. And you're really only supposed to wear it when a Dropkick Murphy is born or dies. I'll wait till you're finished. I used to be a teacher. That's natural for me. Mental health is so important. I know that now. People didn't think about it or talk about it when I was a kid. People treated mental health like a joke. Sometimes when I was young, we'd go out for fast food hamburgers, which I don't mean as self-harm on its own. But we'd go out for fast food hamburgers, and when you're a kid, you take 1 cup, and you get a little bit of each soft drink in 1 cup. I feel it. You know where I'm going. You would call that beverage a? Suicide. That is a lot of people to yell that at me at once. I hadn't considered. Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a suggestion at this point. Suicide. That's what they called it on the East Coast. Apparently on the West Coast, it's graveyard. But either way, someone's going to die. And that is such a deranged thing to call a beverage that children drink. A suicide? As if taking your life with your own hand is the same as all the sodas at once. That doesn't prepare you to be an adult with empathy, I'll tell you what. But your attitude towards stuff changes as you get older. You have experiences that are painful. You lose touch with people from your past. That hurts, and you don't see it coming. Those little threads that hold you together get looser. They start to disintegrate till you realize you've drifted apart. That's tough. I've been losing people in my life, losing touch with them. But I realized recently that I've started by losing touch with the people from my past with the worst nicknames. Just the real insulting dude friend nicknames from childhood. So it does make me feel like I'm growing up right. Like, it's been 15 years since I've even thought about Ugly Mike. I looked him up on Facebook the other day. He's doing amazing. He's married with 2 half-beautiful kids on their mother's side. That's not the worst one, though. Because we didn't call him that to his face. We had one kid that I went to school with. His name was Craig, but nobody called him that. Because when we were seniors in high school, he forgot to put the toilet seat down on a toilet because he was drunk at a party. And then, bloop, full body right in the bowl. And then for 20 years ongoing, everyone in his life has called him the turd. Not just our dirtbag friends. Like, if you go to his house, his mom will be like, Turd, your friends are here. Thanks, Mrs. Turd. You boys want a pancake? No, we're good. But we were friends from home. We'd see each other at gatherings, barbecues, basketball games. We didn't stay in touch after I moved to New York. And I realized it'd been like 8 years since we talked. And my oldest friend in the world was visiting me. And I asked him, I was like, hey man, have you heard from the turd? Because I haven't heard a word from the turd. And it's been so long that it's frankly absurd how long it's been since I've got word from the turd. I didn't mean for it to get so Dr. Seuss, but I did lean into it once it started. And then my buddy changed the tone of the conversation like that. He goes, dude, you didn't hear? The turd died. And I went, oh, man, you have got to say Craig. Craig died. The turd lived. You can't be using the silly words for the serious news. Mr. President, the Hindenburg has totally biffed it, yeah. To use the German, das Wolkenballon has gone kasplat. No. Serious news, serious words. It's been a long time, and I realized I'm from another time. And I don't say that to preface something racist. Because usually that's what we mean when we say someone's from another time. It's like, oh, they're racist for sure. I just mean there's been a lot of times before now, and I'm from the most recent one that's not the present. Literally another time. I don't mind it. I'm happy to see things change. I'm happy to roll with the new. A friend did remind me of it in an offensive way recently. Hurt my feelings. I have a friend who's a middle school English teacher because I'm a secondhand good person. And my friend Kaylee told me that the teenagers in her class refer to the 90s, which is when I became a teenager. Today's teenagers refer to the 90s as the late 1900s. Oh no. We can't be doing that yet. That's not factually wrong, but that's not morally correct to do to a person of my age. I could have a heart condition, apparently. I know I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm not ready to admit that I'm from another century. That I'm a 1900s kid. That's my BuzzFeed quiz now. Like, only 1900s kids will remember VCRs and Victory Gardens. No, thank you. I can't, I won't, I shan't. It's not happening. Because all I've learned from this is that the idea of a century is obsolete. We can't be putting a rubber band around 100 years and calling that one unit of time anymore. History moves too fast. Our memories are too long. We used to be able to do that. We used to be able to call 100 years one thing because we didn't used to do that much in a century. In 100 years, all we'd accomplish is we'd drive a species of bird extinct. And then we'd figure out which mushrooms go well in spaghetti sauce, which let you tickle God's tummy. But now things just happen so fast. And we can't have one term as cute and tidy as the 1900s that refer to so much of the past. We can't have one term as neat and concise as the 1900s that refers to, for example, both the era in which the Titanic sank and the era in which the movie Titanic came out. That's not the same part of history. That is a whole Taylor Swift tour worth of eras that we're calling one thing. We gotta go to the opposite way. We gotta get a BC AD dividing line in the middle of that somewhere. Because I started high school in the previous century, and I finished it in this century, which means I went to high school at the turn of the century. And you're now thinking, wow, you look pretty good for someone who went to high school during World War I. No, there's been another turn since. Because that's how I feel about it. I still feel like the turn of the century is an unimaginably long time ago. Someone goes, that's turn of the century technology, and I'm like, got it, agriculture. Now, 1999 into 2000, that's when the century last turned, if I'm conjugating correctly. Which means turn of the century technology is one of those iMac desktop computers with the big teal backside on it. Because in the year 2000, all our best scientists were working on giving our electronics Technicolor BBLs. And it's just the wrong term for that time. There's a dignity to that phrase, a gravitas to turn of the century that 1999 just didn't capture and doesn't deserve. It was not a dignified time back then. I was there, I remember. Imagine watching a documentary about the year 1999 that calls it the turn of the century. You wouldn't take it serious. Narrator comes in, vaguely British, like Kelsey Grammer on Frasier. We're like, did you go to Oxford or you just like that somehow? Comes in like, it was the turn of the century. Limp Bizkit was atop the Billboard charts. The president was a rascal named William Jefferson Clinton who'd gotten himself into a little bit of a pickle, if I do say so myself. Then his Y2K approach, which is what we called New Year's, just the one time. We all thought the world was going to end for none of the reasons it's currently actually ending. We thought it was going to be clocks somehow, pretty stupid, but you have to let us off the hook. It was a different time. It was the 1900s back then. If there are any young people in here, thank you so much, yeah? But also, you have to realize that last part was not a joke. We thought clocks were gonna bring down millennia of human history, and they almost did. It was down to the wire. December 31st, 1999, as the clock struck midnight, I was standing in my kitchen, trembling, pointing a gun at the microwave. Just like, try something, clock. That's what I thought, 12:01. I'm not trying to stay young or be cool, that's humiliating. I'm 39, I'm bald, I'm white, I can't be wearing ripped jeans calling everybody fam. Bad look for me. I'm just trying to stay flexible. Not physically, obviously. That ship has sailed. That ship sailed in the late 1900s. That ship was James Cameron's Titanic, yes. I'm just trying to take in the new stuff, because it used to be, if you got very old, maybe you'd start having a diminished capacity to take in the new information. And it's always the same topic that gets him. It's always the same issue that makes him let go of the rope. And it's always gender-neutral pronouns. Every time, it's some dude hears the word they and goes, this world is no longer for me. Every time. And I'm not criticizing or making fun of people who hear something new and have to roll it around in their head a few times before it feels natural. That's how we grow and change when we grow and change. What I'm talking about are the guys who argue with the future like they can turn it back into the past through the art of debate. You've heard them, right? The guys that are like, I just can't refer to one person as they or them because those are plural pronouns and that's a singular person. I can't refer to a singular person with plural pronouns. That's grammatically incorrect. It's like, oh, thank you for the refresher on the elements of style. I didn't realize you were such a big strunken whitehead. Let me ask you this. Are you into Strunk solo stuff too? Because I know he's kind of the Garfunkel of the group, but I love that dirty Strunk funk, if you know what I'm talking about. Can't refer to a singular person with plural pronouns. Let me ask you this. How come that argument always comes from the type of dude who uses the pronoun we to refer to a professional sports team he's never played for? Why is that? Why is it always that guy? I'm just asking questions. Us twerps can do it too. Why is it always the guy who once a week picks up a landline telephone to call the radio and complain about the job performance of 12 dudes he'll never meet in real life? If we don't stop playing defense, we're not gonna make the playoffs. Okay, buddy. How about you stop criticizing other people's pronoun use till you can quit identifying as the New York Giants? How about that? It's both or it's neither. Or neither, I don't know. It's been a while since I've read The Elements of Style. You don't get to choose whether progress happens. Progress happens and you can rock with it or you can get left behind. I think that's a fair choice. Progress happened to me last year. In a lot of ways, I have kind of an old-timey life. I'm in one of those monogamous heterosexual marriages that you read about in the less freaky parts of the Bible. Last year, someone that I dated a long time ago, but I'm still friends with, told me that they had transitioned their gender, which I don't have to say in Brooklyn. Some places I go, they transition. Someone goes, so the glasses are sunglasses now. What's the big deal? They turn back, trust the science. And I know it's unfair of me to use that voice, that kind of aggro bro voice, or as close as I can get. for that joke. Because not everybody who thinks like that sounds like that, and not everybody who sounds like that thinks like that. And it's especially unfair of me to use that voice for that joke, because that joke is about my mom. And she doesn't sound like that at all. But I disguised her voice so you wouldn't know that it was her that said that. They transition. They used to use she and her pronouns, now they use they and he pronouns. They got a little mustache coming in. And that's so dope, right? They feel so much better walking around in the body that they're in now. I think that's wonderful. And in my dumb straight guy brain, it's not just better for them, it's better for us as friends. Because now it's like we're not even exes, we're bros. Exes and Bros also would make an incredible name for a gay country song, but I don't play guitar, so someone's gonna have to pick up that ball and run with it. Or those balls, I guess, I don't know. In a lot of ways, it's the same when we hang out. They're the same person in their heart. There are some subtle differences. I think that's okay to admit. Like sometimes we'll be hanging out, and someone who doesn't know our history will be like, how do you two fellas know each other? And I'll give the honest answer, which is new to me, but I say it. I'll go, oh, he and I, we used to date. And I don't have any shame attached to saying that. I just don't know how proud I get to be. Because it definitely makes my romantic history sound more varied and exciting than it's ever been in real life. Honestly, it's gay stolen valor is what it is. It's like putting on a camo jacket, hanging out at a townie bar, like, you're welcome for my service. Free drinks, no questions. Because what I've learned over the years is that when someone makes a change like that with their body, what they're doing is bringing the way they look and feel physically in line with the person they've known themselves to be on the inside for a long time, often their whole life. And that's so beautiful. What a gift to give yourself. And with that being true, with you being the same person the whole time, what that logically means is that 15 years ago, for 20 months, I was in a gay relationship. And no one told me till last February. And I'm not mad, I'm happy to be in the loop now. I just don't know if that means I can march at the front of the parades. I show up all excited like, I'm here, I'm queer, on a technicality. I feel like someone would throw a brick at me and they'd be right to do so. Just like stonewall this chump in the protest way, not the more fun other way with the techno music and the horse tranquilizers. Things change. It's cool to see the progress that happens. Like student-teacher relations, that's different. No, I'm sorry. Wrong word. Student-teacher relations, that's the same as it ever was. Don't do that. Student-teacher relationships, that dynamic between kids and authority figures. It was so different back when I was a kid. Back when I was in high school at the I had a physics teacher. So the sciences were basically the same. We had physics back then. I didn't take like an apothecary class from a guy in a floppy velvet hat. We had physics, and my physics teacher was absent for 4 days in a row. And when that happens in high school, when someone's out for 4 days in a row, that really makes an impression, and the rumors start flying around because it's kind of a big deal. And you kind of believe more as a kid than you would as an adult because you don't know what the rest of the world is like. Like if you told me, oh yeah, he's out for 4 days because he has that surgery where you get your butt cheeks chopped off so you can sleep better at night, lie flatter. I'd be like, I guess that's something grown-ups have to worry about. He had sleep apnea, I don't know. My dad has a bad back, maybe he's got a bad butt. I'm a child. And I was kind of an especially gullible kid, which is probably hard for you to believe because I get this gruff urban exterior now. But back then, I was kind of a sweet dweeb, and I would believe what you told me. We had a basketball coach when I was a freshman, and I wasn't on the team. I was the manager. I could have gone all night letting you believe that I played on that team. But I wanted to level with you because art is about honesty. I didn't come to the Bell House to lie to you fine people. Our basketball coach was about my height, a little shorter, which is not ideal for that sport. You don't want to be led into battle by a little basketball Napoleon every game. Just like, 1, 2, 3, Waterloo! No. But you can be a little shorter than me, that's fine. That's not a crime. I wouldn't even make fun, except it's relevant to this story, because he told us at his athletic peak one time when he was playing college basketball and college soccer back-to-back semesters, he once dunked a basketball on a regulation hoop, and he got it on video. But when he moved a couple years back, he lost the video cassette, so he couldn't show it to us. And at the time, I was like, that must be so heartbreaking. To lose the only visual evidence of such a cherished memory from your past, rendering you unable to share it with future generations, that must be crushing. And now as an adult, I'm like, he was lying to us and he got away with it. That's a fact. He thought we were stupid and he was right. And I know that. I know that must be true. Because again, I'm 5'9.5". No reason to lie. I'm not online dating. I'm 5'9.5". And if once in my 5'9.5" life, I dunked a basketball on a regulation hoop and got it on tape, I would handcuff the VHS cassette to my wrist, like a briefcase full of money in a Steven Soderbergh film. And then I would handcuff a VCR to my other wrist, because it's no longer the 1900s. Those things aren't just lying around anymore. So on day 5, our physics teacher comes back, and his arms and neck are covered in gauze. And the rumor that stuck, the rumor that we all, for some reason, agreed was what happened, I'm going to tell you, but it's a little disturbing. It was that the previous Friday, he had gotten home from work, and he dropped his briefcase, which startled his 2 pit bulls, who attacked him like a DMX video. And then one in each hand, he choked the dogs unconscious, which is horrifying, but kind of impressive if you think about it. And then when the dogs came to, they just kept living together like nothing had happened, which is the wildest part of the whole story. That's like Abraham Lincoln surviving the bullet only to be roommates with John Wilkes Booth. Like, what are you thinking, dude? This is not over. But we couldn't ask. We couldn't, inquire as to the truth of that rumor. We didn't have that kind of relationship, kids and adults. You couldn't inquire about something so intimate, even when it felt like you could shoehorn it into the conversation. He's telling us about the coefficient of friction. You can't raise your hand like, yeah, I heard your dogs did some friction to your face. What's going on with that? So we just lived in this uncertainty, whispering this rumor to each other back and forth, until one day we got the answer that we'd wanted. We found out whether it was true or not in a way that just could not happen nowadays. One day, there was this kid in my class. His name was Bobby O'Bannon. Everyone called him B.O., so obviously we're not in touch. And the tragedy was he didn't even smell bad. B.O. was just his initials. Yeah, his parents hadn't considered middle school when they named him. So they just put that joke on a T where it sat waiting for us for 13 years until we hit 6th grade and took turns hitting home runs off it. B.O. is a good dude, good athlete, good student, well-behaved kid. But one day, for some reason, in physics class, he decides he's going to be the class clown for a day, see how the D students live. Really cut it up. And he's crushing. And our teacher is so mad. He's like, Bobby, stop it. He's like, by stop, do you mean hold for applause? Because I'm killing right now. And you can see he doesn't want to come down too hard on him because he's never been a problem before. But he's seething. He's boiling over like a Erlenmeyer flask atop a glowing Bunsen burner. Until finally he can't take it anymore. And with 10 minutes left in the period, he goes, Bobby, I choked my dogs, whom I love, unconscious. Imagine what I would do to you. Wow. He just cut a wrestling promo on 3rd period physics. Like, O'Bannon, today after school, you, me, by the dumpster at the gym. I'm gonna send you to permanent detention, brother. And it didn't even occur to us to tell another adult that had happened. They would not have cared. We were just like, thank you so much for confirming the rumor. We were so curious and we couldn't ask. And the most dated part of that whole story is that is the only thing I remember from senior year physics. Sometimes a teacher chokes his dogs. Not all change is progress. Sometimes it's just, Misdirected effort. We could be doing better stuff with our time. I live in this neighborhood in Brooklyn, not too far from where we are now. It's a little fancy. A lot of the businesses seem to be kept going by this like arms race to create the most complicated baked good. Nobody asked them to do this, but it's fueling the Brooklyn economy. I went into a bakery in my neighborhood recently, and they were advertising this product called the Everything Cruffin. And you're giggling, because what a beautiful, whimsical two-word phrase. There's so much delight when I say it. I just love to say it. Doesn't Everything Cruffin sound like something Harry Potter would snatch out of the sky and save the world from skeletons or whoever he hates? Which is different from who J.K. Rowling hates. Those are two different groups. No need to confuse them. She's weirdly cool with skeletons. So I ordered one. I had to know what it was, and I'll share it with you. The Everything Cruffin is, it's a croissant, that's the cra. In the shape of a muffin, that's the uffin. With everything bagel seasoning sprinkled all over the top. One person who said nope, that's anti-Semitism. I'm sorry, that's what we pinpointed it. I'm sorry, that's my heritage, everything bagel seasoning. That's what they packed when they left Anatevka at the end of Fiddler. Just sprinkling it behind them. So they could always get home if they had to. But you're right, it wasn't that good. I really hung you out to dry for a second there. But it was fun. It was fine. It's not something you want in your life all the time. Certainly not something you need every day, which is a shame, because I want the words Everything Cruffin in my life each and every day. They bring so much joy to me every time I say it. Doesn't Everything Cruffin kind of sound like how the rapper E40 says he's having a nice time? You're just like, how's it going, man? He's like, everything Cruffin, son. Keeping it poppy seed in the yay. Cool. I want that in my life. We should just start using it. We'll figure out a way. You go to work on Monday, you're like, Cruffin hard or hardly Cruffin? After the show tonight, you take your friend aside. You're like, you Cruffin or you stuffing tonight? Because if you're Cruffin, I'll drive you home. But if you're stuffing, I'll peel off, let you work your magic. You know what I'm talking about. I'm actually not sure you know what I'm talking about. And you can use any of those in your life. That's not cultural appropriation. I made those use cases up. It's open source software. Public domain, like how we can make Winnie the Pooh do whatever we want now. You don't want to culturally appropriate. I understand that concern. You don't want to take someone else's culture, act like it's your stuff. I feel like, and not to bring it down too much, I feel like white people in America, we have the privilege to not consider the racial dynamics of a given situation before we act. And I don't think that's right, I just think that's how it is. We can make these mistakes because we get in too deep. And that's wrong, but America was created for white people, for their comfort, at the expense of people of color. And that's no good, but it's how it is until we change it. And I made a mistake like that recently. I recently made a racially charged mistake that was awkward at best, offensive at worst, and I'm gonna share it with you now, not because I think it's like a teachable moment, I just wanna make as much money as everyone who's canceled. I just want those cancel bucks. I was out with some friends doing karaoke, and I'd chosen to sing the Thong Song by Sisqó, which is one of my favorite pieces of turn-of-the-century music. It's got violins and stuff, that doesn't sound so wrong. But I'd forgotten, honestly, how many times Sisqó sings the N-word in that song about underpants. I was counting on 0, by the way. That's what I was remembering. I wasn't like 4 or 5, I'll probably skate by, I'm a pretty charming performer. I was remembering 0, and the number of times he sings that word in that song about panties, it's like the stars in the night sky. Cloudless, infinite. Grains of sand on the beach as you Ogle women's butt cheeks on your way to the shore. And that's not a criticism of Sisqó's songwriting. He doesn't need my permission to use that word as many times as he wants. That's Sisqó's prerogative. Sisqó's Prerogative is also, it's the name of the science fiction novel I was working on last year during the writer's strike. Kind of a Deep Space Nine fan fiction where everyone has silver hair, asses just hanging out of their spacesuit. Dumps like a starship. Whatever. Thank you. I also feel applause about that joke. But it comes on quick. You don't have the chance to think about it, calibrate, course correct. It's right at the beginning. I'm not gonna sing it, I'm gonna bring you to where I was. So you can see the panic in my eyes. As I mentioned, pretty good performer. It was like, ooh, that dress so scandalous, and another, uh-oh. Because I know what not to do. That's taken care of. I know, it's 2024. When you look like this, you don't sing that word. And I'm from Boston, and I know that, so word's gotten around. But what do you do? That feels less settled. There's a lot of things you could try. Which one is it? Do you sing a different word that sounds similar? That feels like flying too close to the sun. Some guy justifiably offended punching me in the face. I'm like, no, dude, I said nipple, I swear to God. Do you stand rigid at silent attention while music plays behind you like bagpipes at a police funeral? Feels dramatic to me. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know what to do. Still, I know what I did. That can't be the same thing. I didn't make the most wrong decision. I didn't make the most correct one, I can't imagine. Here's what happened. I see the word coming up on the screen. I panicked. I froze. I took a knee. I did. That's right. Full Kaepernick. That's right. I was like, until there's racial equality in this nation, I will not stand and sing the words to the song. Probably not after that either, but definitely not today. I'm trying to stick with the new stuff, but I feel some old man opinions creeping in. It's old married guy stuff first. Here's something I believe, and I don't know whether it's true or it's just what my experience suggests. I think in our culture, people treat sexual romantic relationships with too much importance in their life before you've even built something with another person. People really center that in their lives in a way that's not healthy, it's unnecessary. Even in our language that we use, as soon as you start hooking up with someone, you say that you're more than friends. That's ridiculous. 50% of the people I've hooked up with, at least, have been absolutely less than friends. Friends know each other's last names. They give each other their real cell phone numbers. It's like a totally different thing going on. And there are so many relationships in your life that are deeper than just a casual friendship. You could start a small business together. You could spend the night in the same jail cell. But unless you're hooking up at work or in jail, you can't say you're more than friends. People get very weird about it. You've never heard that for a casual relationship, right? A platonic one? No. You'd be very weird about it. If we were all at a party together, which, first of all, what a coincidence. But we're all at a party, I'm like, hey, you see that nice older woman over there? We're more than friends. That's my Aunt Judith. You'd be like, what kind of Game of Thrones Jews are you people? You need to get back to less than friends. You need to get back to being family. I learned a new sex thing recently. New to me. It wasn't a brand new one. The president did a radio bulletin about it. And Joe Biden's like, you'll never guess where they're putting it now. It was just new to me. I learned it from a website that it was embarrassing that I was even spending this much time on, TikTok. But I learned about a sex thing that was new to me, a sexual preference, I guess you'd call it, called a praise kink, which is what it sounds like. It's on what gets you going sexually, is when the person or people you're with tell you what a tremendous job you're doing with sex. They're just like, great work down there or back there or wherever you're sexing them. They're just like, top notch. That's Amoré. That's cool, sure. I actually wish that I'd met more women who were like that back when I was dating in my 20s. Because when I was dating and I was single, I felt like I kept finding women who wanted to hear the cruelest and most belittling dirty talk that the English language could muster. And I don't know if you've gotten this vibe from me over the past 45 or so minutes, but I'm at my best when I get to give positive reinforcement. I dated this one woman for a while, and she had terrible self-esteem. She would walk around all day just saying horrible things to herself, just like, oh, you're worthless, nobody likes you. If you disappeared, everyone would be happier. There's no reason for you to be around. And then she would come home, and she would want me to be mean to her in the bedroom, and I didn't want to do that. Because first of all, how was I gonna beat the champ? She's walking around all day just landing uppercuts on her own brain. How am I going to exploit her flaws that well? I don't even know them. We just met. I'll learn what her flaws are because I care. But I don't know them yet. And secondly, I didn't want to make her feel bad. I didn't want to say something mean in a way that wasn't fun for her. Push on a psychic bruise I didn't realize was there. Because I was young, I was inexperienced. I didn't know the difference between sexy mean and sad mean. Which this is also the exact same distance between dad and daddy. It's just a little math lesson. So here's what I did, and this is embarrassing. Here's what I did. I made a deal with myself that I could say a mean sex thing, which is what she wanted, but only to justify it to me. I would only do it if I could sandwich it between two sincere sex compliments. Like a boss at an office job giving a performance evaluation. So my dirty talk just came out unhinged every time. It was always like, oh, you're so hot, and you're a nasty little slut who shows tremendous attention to detail. Anyway, if we could wrap this up by end of day, that would be terrific. No worries if not. And she'd be like, this sex could have been an email. When you encounter people who are different than you, right, who are maybe unexpected, have qualities that you've never encountered before, ask questions, don't judge, show that you care. That is, if you can take anything away from this show tonight, which you don't have to. You don't need to learn something. This isn't a TED Talk, I'm not gonna quiz you, no one is. You could leave worse if you want, I don't care. You don't need to leave a better person. You could go out that door after the show ends and try to trip a dog, I don't care. You won't be able to, they'll jump right over you, too many legs, it's not gonna happen. But I don't care if you leave a better person. But if you want something to latch onto, ask questions, be curious, care about people. My friends are dating. I haven't done that in a long time. I don't judge, I just want to know what their life is like. My friend recently told me, she was like, Josh, I've been seeing this guy, I don't think it's gonna be a long-term thing, but the sex is ruining my life. And I didn't know what that meant. So I asked a follow-up question. I was like, oh my gosh, you're pregnant? Well, you're gonna stay that way if the Burger King has anything to say about it. She's like, what? No, that's not what it means at all. What I mean is, I don't even think this guy's a good person, but the sex is incredible. I can't stay away. I'm making bad decisions to keep seeing him. His dick is ruining my life. And I didn't know what that meant. So I asked a follow-up question. I was like, that's what dicks are doing now? There's just guys out there with supervillain boners making you forget your social security number, drop your phone down a sewer grate, forget your grandpa's birthday? No way. Couldn't be me, I'll tell you that. Couldn't be me. And I don't say that to imply that my dick would improve your life on a day-to-day basis. That's hubris, I wouldn't claim it. But it's not gonna ruin the whole thing. My dick could ruin your night? Sure, yeah, that's happened a few times. There's precedent for that. One time, isolated incident, it ruined a young woman's couch. Am I proud of it? No. But art is about honesty. I established that earlier in the show. I didn't come here to lie to you. But ruin your whole life? Not my basically regular penis, no way. If anything, I bet there's someone from my past that describes me 180 degrees the opposite direction. One of the women I dated or the one dude who's just like, what's Josh all about? I don't know. We went out 3 times 12 years ago. We hooked up once, which is fine. Then he apologized a bunch, which made it worse. And then the next morning at 6:30 a.m., I could hear him tiptoe out of my apartment. I was like, that's fine. And then at 6:47, he tiptoed back in. I was like, that's not standard. And what had happened was he had gone to this muffin store in my neighborhood that I mentioned on our second date. But because I mentioned the name of the store, Nothing But Muffins, but not which one was my favorite, the Everything Cruffin, he got one of each muffin and brought them all back to my apartment, so I would definitely have the one I wanted, which is cute, but a lot. Definitely kind of a lot. And I knew from experience those muffins cost like $6 a piece, which means he spent like $75 on that errand if you count tax and tip, which you should, that's part of it. And I felt so guilty and overwhelmed by the expense he'd undertaken and the effort he went to on my behalf that I was stunned. I sat with him at my kitchen table all morning, tasting each muffin one at a time and ranking them from best to worst, like we were starting a podcast about muffins. And that day, I was supposed to get on that Malaysian Airlines flight that disappeared. But because of this muffin stunt, I missed my plane and I'm here talking to you now. His dick saved my life. That's what I'm telling you. I don't have any kids, which I know is not what you expected. Because I don't just look like a dad. I have just radiant Brooklyn girl dad energy. I look like every guy pushing a 3-year-old girl outside this building in a stroller, and her name is spelled Arbygee, and it's pronounced RBG, and I never tell her that she's adorable, only that she has integrity and should retire on her terms. But no kids. My wife and I have a dog. That's not the same, I learned recently. It's not that you care about a dog less. It's just a couple weeks ago, my friend's dog saw me naked. I was dog sitting. We weren't at the park like, whoops, forgot something. I was dog sitting. The dog was asleep on my couch. I went to take a shower. I came out. The dog just stares my nude body up and down. Can you blame him? And then I just didn't tell my friend Lindsay. So every time I see them, it's like I'm looking at the dog going, that's our little secret, buddy, right? And that's how I know a dog is not like a human child. Because that's fine. She'll find out when she sees this later. Totally cool. We have no kids. We have a dog. She's a 16-and-a-half-year-old pug. Yeah, she's so sweet. She's in weirdly good health, except her digestive system is on what I call Shakira mode, meaning she just poops wherever, whenever. And those hips don't lie. It's coming out on the rug again. I made a friend recently, new friend, which is not a big deal. I do that like all the time. But we were having that new friend talk where you just like try to keep the ball up in the air because you're having a good time. Doesn't matter if you're making sense, it's all about the vibe. And I had mentioned that I have this 16-and-a-half-year-old pug. And my new friend goes, does your dog do any tricks? And I go, does my 16-and-a-half-year-old pug do any tricks? Yeah, I guess there's the one. Every morning she opens both of her eyes. That's not bad, right? She was born during the Bush administration. Her lungs are like raisins. Every breath she takes is a trick she plays on God. But no human kids. I have one sister. She has no kids. We have no first cousins, which means we might be the last of the Gondelmans. which is definitively the worst Daniel Day-Lewis movie. When people find out we might be the last ones, they ask deep existential questions. They skip over the normal no-kid questions. Are you thinking about it? Does your wife want kids? You're getting older. And they go right for the emotional jugular. The questions I get now are like, but don't you want the family name to live on? Don't you want the bloodline to continue? And that's two weird ways to ask a pretty normal question. And I'll answer them both. Do I want the family name to live on? Yeah, of course I do, and it's gonna. I have a Wikipedia page. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I earned it by being notable. I am proud of it, but not everything about it. So in that way, I do know what it's like to have a child. And then number two, bloodline. Do I want the bloodline to continue? Bloodline. Do you think I'm the king of something? Is that why you brought eugenics into this conversation at a mutual friend's birthday party, stranger? What legacy do you think I'm leaving to these children you imagined for me? I don't have that much to give. Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to hold up an infant child in an 800 square foot 2-bedroom in Brooklyn?
Just like, someday all of this will be yours. Not the apartment. We rent the apartment, but the furniture. Someday the furniture will be yours. If this IKEA stuff holds up till I die. The apartment you leave when the lease ends. Never go beyond the lease.
My wife and I were thinking about buying an apartment, and we found out how much they cost. And that put a stop to that. We learned in a weird way. We got a new mayor a couple years ago, and he has depreciated since we got him off the lot. And a couple years ago, when we were auditioning new mayors, all the contestants were asked by a journalist how much they thought the median cost to purchase a home in Brooklyn was. How much a middle-of-the-road home cost to purchase in Brooklyn. And they were wildly divergent with their answers. I bet this room could do better than the prospective mayors did. Does anyone have a guess how much the middle-of-the-road median home cost to purchase here in Brooklyn? 800,000. You say 700, which I know you mean 700,000, but that is such a financially stable way to say $700,000. When I say 700 and I'm talking about money, I mean the amount a refurbished laptop costs, not a whole home. But good guesses. 700,000, 800,000. The answer is $900,000, which is so much money. There's a show on TV called $1 Million Listing. In Brooklyn, we just call that listing. We call it unimpressive but still unattainable listing. And it's not the world we thought we were growing into. If when I was a kid, you'd been like, Josh, I'm gonna give you $900,000 when you grow up. What are you gonna do with it? I'd be like, well, right off the top, fleet of pirate ships, no doubt about it. Because you get your money working for you once you're pillaging, plundering, get all that stuff up and running. Work smarter, not harder. That's... Thank you. Nerds. That's something I learned from my accountant, QuickBooks the Black. And then with the leftover money, which I assume there will be, you bring a dinosaur back to life. I didn't know why that was a bad idea at the time. Jurassic Park wasn't out yet. It was the early, late 1900s. But now in Brooklyn, $900,000 gets you 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, no Stegosaurus. That's garbage. And I know I'm painting kind of a dire picture of my financial reality. It's a little better than that. I have some money, which is not everybody's situation, I understand, and it's not always a popular thing to say, but I have some money. I have friends who are pretty politically progressive. I'm politically progressive. I have friends who are to the left of where I am politically, where if I'm like, yeah, I have Hulu and Netflix, they're like, to the guillotine! So I know it's not how everybody thinks. But I have some money. I have enough money that when the batteries in my remote control die, I just throw them both away. Both batteries, not the batteries and the remote control. Like an assistant principal who doesn't care who started it. Batteries and the remote control, that's Tom Cruise behavior, throwing them both out, right? Like, oh, there's no more thetans left in this. Put it in the garbage. No, both batteries. I don't roll them back and forth for a while like hot dogs at a 7-Eleven, like that's gonna do something. I don't borrow one from a less important appliance, like thank you for your service, label maker. I won't forget it. And then go 1 in, 1 out in the remote control, like it's a nightclub for batteries in there. And I have to remember which is the old one and which is the new one. And the old one's got some chalky white dust on it, as if stale electricity becomes cocaine somehow. No. When the batteries in my remote control die, I throw them both away because I have a thriving career in the entertainment industry. Thank you. Thank you. But that's not buy a home in Brooklyn money. So my wife and I decided to move the goalposts a little bit, change what we're trying to do. We're gonna keep saving, not do anything ridiculous, but use that money that would have gone towards a down payment and just retire a little earlier than we thought we'd be able to. Enjoy the rest of our lives a little longer without having to work. And we crunched the numbers at the beginning of this year, and we figured out we can afford to retire at the end of this November. Well, love that whistle, very strong. But take it back for a second, because we do have to hit a couple benchmarks, meet a few preconditions. Number one, no more taxis, Lyfts, Ubers when we're home in New York. Public transportation runs all night, we should take advantage. Number two, no more takeout. I know, cooking is a little more work, but it's worth it for the savings, we need it. Number three, and this one is huge, my wife and I can afford to retire at the end of this November if we both commit to being dead by New Year's Eve. And if we do that, it's gonna be a December to remember. I'm gonna find out what foie gras is. We're gonna watch all the shows on Disney Plus, and then December 31st at midnight, it is all the sodas at once for the two of us. Going out like we thought we would in '99. Thank you so much. I cherish the time we spent together. Thank you, Brooklyn. Everything tonight has truly been Cruffin. Thank you. Oh, it's so nice.